Have you ever been drawn to a place that felt too perfect to be true? A house with a dark, haunting secret hidden just behind its walls? Join us today as we unravel the chilling tale of Martin, a man whose curiosity led him to a mansion that whispered more than just secrets. But some stories are better left untold. And some rooms better left unopened. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more spine-tingling stories. Hit that bell icon so you don't miss the next terrifying chapter.
Martin had always been drawn to the eerie charm of old houses. They held stories within their walls, tales of lives long gone. It wasn't surprising, then, that the advertisement for a secluded manor on the outskirts of town caught his attention. It was massive, its towering gables framed against an overcast sky in the photograph, with ivy climbing up its stone facade. The price was shockingly low, far below market value, and the only peculiar clause in the contract read, "Do not enter the room at the end of the hall." Most people would have taken this as a red flag, but Martin wasn't most people. A man of science and logic, he dismissed the clause as a legal disclaimer for a room that was likely unsafe or structurally unsound. The thought of a quiet retreat away from the city, surrounded by nature and serenity, outweighed any concerns. Part 2, Martin signed the papers within a day and moved in shortly after. The manor was as breathtaking in person as it was in the photograph, with its intricate woodwork, stained glass windows, and marble floors. For the first few days, Martin was preoccupied with unpacking and settling in, barely noticing the peculiarities of the house. But then came the whispers. They started on the third night. Faint murmurs, as though someone was speaking just out of earshot. Martin dismissed them as creaks of an old house settling or his imagination playing tricks on him. However, the whispers grew louder over the next few nights, always seeming to emanate from the same place, the room at the end of the upstairs hallway. The door to the forbidden room was unlike the others in the house. It was a dark mahogany with no handle or keyhole, only a brass plate where a doorknob should have been. Martin inspected it closely, running his fingers over the wood. There were no signs of recent locks or mechanisms, just an eerily smooth surface. Probably locked for safety, he muttered to himself. Yet, the whispers nagged at him. Part 3, a week after moving in, Martin invited his sister, Lisa, over to show her the place. As he gave her a tour, she stopped abruptly in front of the door at the end of the hall. "What's in there?" she asked, tilting her head. "Nothing. It's sealed off. The contract said not to enter it," Martin replied with a shrug. Lisa frowned. "Didn't that seem odd to you? It's probably just structurally unsound. Nothing mysterious about it." But Lisa didn't look convinced. She leaned closer to the door, her expression darkening. "I think I heard something," she whispered. Martin rolled his eyes. "It's an old house. It creaks." "Martin," Lisa said sharply, her voice trembling. "It's not creaking. It's whispering." Her words sent a shiver down Martin's spine. He laughed nervously, trying to dismiss the growing unease. "You've been watching too many horror movies." Yet, even as they walked away, Martin couldn't shake the feeling that Lisa was right. Part 4, the true terror began 2 nights later. Martin was jolted awake by a loud knock echoing through the house. His bedroom door was open, and he could see the hallway bathed in moonlight. At first, he thought someone was at the front door, but as he sat up, he realized the sound was coming from the forbidden room. Knock. 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 He froze, his heart pounding. The knocking wasn't frantic or aggressive, it was deliberate, almost rhythmic. Gathering his courage, Martin grabbed a flashlight and stepped into the hallway. The whispers were back, faint but unmistakable. He stood in front of the door, his hand hovering over the brass plate where the doorknob should have been. "Who's there?" he demanded, his voice trembling. The whispers stopped. The silence was deafening, pressing against him like a weight. Then, in the stillness, a single word emerged, faint but clear: "Leave." Martin stumbled back, dropping the flashlight. It clattered to the floor, its beam casting long, flickering shadows. When he looked up, he saw something that made his blood run cold. The brass plate had a faint handprint on it, as if someone on the other side had pressed their palm against the door. Part 5, the next morning, Martin called Lisa and told her everything. She urged him to leave the house immediately, but Martin refused. He wasn't one to back down from a mystery, and his logical mind wouldn't let him believe in ghosts or curses. Instead, he decided to investigate. At the local library, he delved into the history of the manor. It didn't take long to uncover its dark past. The house had been built in the 1800s by a wealthy recluse named Jonathan Greaves. Rumors swirled about Greaves performing occult rituals, and neighbors often reported hearing strange noises coming from the house. Then, in 1895, Greaves and his entire household disappeared without a trace. The house remained vacant for years until it was bought by a young couple in the 1920s. They too vanished, leaving their belongings behind. Every subsequent owner experienced bizarre phenomena, whispers, shadows, and unexplained disappearances. One article stood out to Martin. It was an interview with a local historian who claimed the house had a silent room where Greaves conducted his rituals. That room, the historian had said, is not meant to be opened. What lies within is not meant to be disturbed. Part 6. Armed with this knowledge, Martin returned home. The whispers greeted him as he stepped inside, louder than ever. They seemed angry now, almost pleading. Martin's curiosity had reached its breaking point. Grabbing a crowbar, he marched to the forbidden room. The whispers grew frantic, rising to a crescendo as he pried at the edges of the door. With a final pull, the door gave way, revealing a dark, windowless room. The air was cold, and the smell of damp earth filled his nostrils. In the center of the room stood a circle of symbols etched into the wooden floor, surrounded by melted candles and dark stains. As Martin stepped inside, the whispers stopped. For a moment, there was nothing but silence. Then, the door slammed shut behind him, plunging the room into darkness. Part 7. Martin fumbled for his flashlight, his breathing ragged. When he turned it on, the beam illuminated something he couldn't comprehend. The walls were covered in writing, thousands of words scrawled in a language he didn't recognize. At the center of the circle, a shadow began to take form. It wasn't human, nor was it animal. Its shape shifted constantly, tendrils of darkness reaching out like smoke. "Why did you come here?" A voice boomed, low and guttural. Martin's mind raced. I wanted to know the truth." The shadow laughed, a deep, chilling sound that reverberated through the room. "The truth? You are not prepared for it." The symbols on the floor began to glow, and Martin felt a force pulling at him, as if the room itself was alive. He tried to move, but his body wouldn't respond. "Every soul who enters this room becomes a part of it," the shadow said. "You are no exception." Part 8. When Lisa came to check on Martin a week later, the house was empty. His belongings were still there, but there was no sign of him. She searched every room, her heart sinking with each passing moment. Finally, she reached the forbidden room. The door was gone, replaced by a smooth, featureless wall. As she turned to leave, she heard it, the faintest whisper, calling her name. What happened to Martin? Was he consumed by the mystery of the whispering walls, or did the house claim another victim? One thing's for certain, some doors should never be opened. If you found this story as unsettling as we did, hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more disturbing tales. And if you think you know what really happened to Martin, let us know in the comments below. But remember, don't listen too closely. You never know who, or what, is listening back.